Hi, I'm attorney David Gibbs. I have the privilege of serving as the president of the National Center for Life and Liberty. One of our 5 Liberty Centers is the Center for Life Defense. Life is the most fundamental liberty. Our founding fathers understood if you don't protect innocent life, you really have no other freedom. Certainly, we cherish our first, second, or other constitutional rights under the Constitution of the United States. But the reality is, if innocent life isn't protected, you really have no true liberty. I have the privilege of working with attorney Barbara Weller. Barbara serves as the executive director of the Center for Life Defense. And Barbara, we've litigated cases together for 20 plus years. And one of those cases was the Terri Schiavo case that a number of years ago was the #1 news story in the world. And you know, as we help families and serve through the Center for Life Defense, there's a lot of people that are still confused on what happened in the Terri Schiavo case.
Absolutely. People just believe the mythology that was in the media at that time. People thought Terri was on life support, they thought she had a ventilator, breathing machine, whatever. But actually, she only needed help at mealtime. She wasn't hooked up to anything any other time. At mealtimes, they would come in and just put a little Ensure in her stomach. And other than that, she could have gone out, she could have gone to the mall, she could have gone to court. We wanted to take her to court, and the judge wouldn't allow her to come in the courtroom. So I think you, as well as I, remember that as a very sad case because we were able to go and visit Terri. We were able to see her interact with her parents. We were able to see her joke with her father. We were able to see her try to say I love you to her mother. And she was just a very, very, very sweet lady. Someone who obviously was very disabled, but certainly she was not sick and she was not dying. And had the court not ordered her feeding and water removed, so that she would die a horrible death by starvation and dehydration, something that would be against the 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment if it was done to a mass murderer. It was just a very sad time in our lives. But we really, I believe you agree with me on this, that we started the Center for Life Defense to honor Terri, and even though we weren't able to save her, in her name, we want to reach out and save others who are hidden away in the womb, in nursing homes, in hospitals. And we want to help them, just as Jesus said in Matthew 24:40, as you do it unto the least of these, you do it unto me. And we want to save lives just the way we would save Jesus' life.
Well, you know, Barb, that verse, Matthew 25:40, I sign under my name oftentimes when I'll sign a book or a Bible because, you know, it really is the least of these are recognized by God. And he says, what you do to them, you've done to me. But it seems like in our society, we're willing to almost throw away less than perfect people. If somebody gets too old or somebody becomes disabled or somebody becomes unhealthy, it's almost like in America now, if you're not able-bodied, you don't count anymore.
Yes, our courts and our society tend to look at people not through the sanctity of life that God gave them, but through what their quality of life is. And so they consider people who have some lesser quality of life than other people, those who are old or disabled or maybe inconvenient, and they just think they can throw them away. And yet God considers every one of those people to be his precious child, and he has a purpose for every one of them and for their families. And we want to work so that all of those purposes can be achieved because these are very, very special people.
The founding fathers believed in the sanctity of life. They would have been shocked that our courts would even evaluate the quality of life because they believed that really all life was from God, and that really was the core freedom that motivated them.
Absolutely. Our Declaration of Independence talked about God-given rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And life was the first one because, of course, without life, you don't have liberty and you can't pursue your happiness. So life is the very foundation of our nation, and if we start to throw that away, we're just throwing away very, very, very precious individuals.
Now, Barb, at the Center for Life Defense, we litigate cases. We go in and out of courtrooms defending life, but we also counsel a number of families and help give them good advice because when you pull together the doctors and the law, we believe that if you give good people good information, they then as families can go make good decisions.
Yes, I talk on the phone at the office with families who are in difficulty. Some are having difficult pregnancies or they've had problems that way, a crisis pregnancy, or a family member is in the hospital and at the end of life. And we're able to talk through that with them, just to talk with them about the legal issues and exactly what they should do for that family member. We're able to provide, even before the end of life situation happens, legal documents so that families can make sure that that's not what happens to them at the end of a very precious family member at the end of their life. So we're able to provide all that for people, and we, once again, I enjoy talking to those people. They're in difficult phases of their life, but God can minister to them, and I do it all in the name of Terri.
And we litigate cases and we counsel families. We also work with legislators. We have the privilege of giving testimony and model legislation, and sadly it's been kind of an uphill battle protecting life in the legislatures of our land.
Absolutely. The laws are going the wrong way. The laws are going toward getting rid of these people because they're too much trouble, they cost too much money, and with the new health care that's coming to America, this is going to be happening more and more frequently. The death panels that Sarah Palin talked about are not fiction. They are going to be there, and we want to be there working with legislators to give a counterbalance to that and to say, no, these people's lives are precious, they're important, and they're not expendable.
And that message is also something we want to take to the media. You and I do a number of radio and television interviews, and in our culture, it just doesn't seem like anybody wants to speak up for the less than perfect.
Absolutely. People think, oh, that's a waste of money. I was actually at a legal seminar, and I was so shocked about this. The person who was giving the seminar was talking about, when you do wills, encourage these people to say, no, I don't want any extra care at the end of my life. I just want to die. You should really take all that money that's wasted on me and take a cruise. That's exactly what they said. I was horrified.
Well, and Barb, we believe God's the giver of life, and we believe God lets blessings in. We certainly want good health and length of days, but God can also let situations in where you have disability or difficulty in your life. But we believe at the Center for Life Defense that God and God alone should end life. And as we battle in the courts and serve these families, it is rewarding because you're able to walk in, and a lot of these cases are very emotional, very personal to me, because a mother will hug me, and as she's hugging me, it's not just, I hope I win my case, but literally, I hope my daughter, I hope my son stays alive.
We have met the most wonderful people in this ministry, not only the people who are disabled and who just have such joy in the life that they have, and Terri did too, by the way. She had a lot of joy in the life that she had when her family was there. We're seeing these people, and then we're seeing the families and the blessings that they get by caring for these people. Just recently, a long-term disabled person who was being cared for in her home by her mother and father and later by her sister passed away. And that family was so faithful to take care of her for decades. And when she passed away, they could know that they had really served the Lord in caring for that person, just as if that daughter of theirs had been Jesus himself.
You know, I get to see Chad Hunter periodically in Tennessee, and we talk about Terri Schiavo, and he's actually alive today because of the Terri Schiavo case. As a high school student, he wrote a paper, and he said to his mother, you know, if I'm ever in a situation like this, don't kill me. And the mother didn't know this when her 17-year-old son was in a car accident, and the doctors were saying, let him go, he's gone. And a Christian teacher walked in and said, maybe you want to read this paper. And the mother read it and made the decision to spare his life. And he's now able to communicate with sign language. He's best friends with his mother. He's lived a number of years past that accident. And it is rewarding to see where, while Terri's life was ended by order of the court, 13 days without food and water, it is rewarding to see these lives that are spared, these families that are saved, and being able to serve the least of these in the courts and legislatures of our land.
Absolutely, and Chad Hunter is a very special case because one of the ways that his family raises money to care for him is by having a run and a walk to raise money. And I remember, and you may remember this too, that we always talked about the fact that if Terri won her case, and we would even talk to her about this, that we were going to take her in her wheelchair on the turkey trot that Thanksgiving, which was the run that was in our area. And so whenever I hear about Chad's run, I think, that's what we wanted to do with Terri, and they're doing it for Chad.
And we have attorneys that work with us all over the country. We also work with medical professionals, many pro-life doctors, and we certainly respect doctors and appreciate doctors and what they do. But I think it's fair to say, Barbara, some doctors don't always have a pro-life perspective.
They do not. And somebody has to talk to them about that. Somebody has to talk to them about the Lord. If they're not Christians, you know, think about it. If you're not a Christian, why would you want to keep anyone alive who wasn't perfect? So in some ways, we need to minister to these doctors as well, because doctors who know the Lord and understand that every life is precious to God, they're going to be the ones that are pro-life. So you never think about witnessing to your doctor, right? But yet I know patients who actually have witnessed to their doctors and been a testimony to their doctors, and their doctors have been saved and know the Lord, and it changes their attitude about everything.
We believe at the Center for Life Defense that life is the most fundamental right, and that if we lose that liberty, we have no other truly protected constitutional freedom. Whether it's in the courtrooms, whether it's counseling the families, whether it's in the legislative halls or speaking to the media, Barbara, the team at the Center for Life Defense, the whole National Center for Life and Liberty, we're honored to defend your life and the life of your loved ones. Don't ever hesitate to contact us. We want to be there for you.